following the path of least resistance, I get it. I have a 13 years old daughter. What if one time, or at some point, a 15 years old boy is saying, let's follow the path of least resistance, have some fun. As a mother, what do I tell her?
Well,
especially, I was ready to buy 3 books of Sarah's series.
If she asks you that today,
I want to be prepared for it before she asks me.
But we have a very clever way of explaining this. If she asks you that today, tell her you can't give her the answer because you don't understand the path of least resistance. Because your question indicates that you don't understand what we mean by the path of least resistance. So now we're going to explain to you what we mean by the path of least resistance, and then you'll be prepared to know what to do. And the path of least resistance is being under the influence of source and feeling with great clarity which way to go. That's the path of least resistance. So first, you've got to yourself understand when you're under the influence of your own inner being and when you're under the influence of your anger about something. And once you've isolated what being under the influence really is, then you can demonstrate it through your example, because you can't demonstrate it through words. Demonstrate it through your example, that what it is like when you're tuned in and what you're like when you're not, and how eager you are to be tuned in and what you do about it when you're not. Let your children see that you care about satisfaction and that you always lean that way. Let them watch you live in grace and stability and confidence and clarity and love, even under difficult situations. Let them understand what true alignment is. And then you can help them understand that you're following the path of, we want to define, path of least resistance is also the path of most allowance, and the path of most allowance is alignment with source. So of course you don't want your children to be out with a bunch of rowdy people who want to do something and it sounds like fun and off they go. You want them to be stable in understanding who they are. You want them to have already identified and isolated within themselves what it feels like to be in alignment. You want them to have their true guidance within them. That's everything that we've been talking with you about since you've been here in this chair. You want to know, and you want them to know, what it feels like when you are tuned into that source energy, because then your thoughts come easily to you and you don't feel conflicted about what to do. The most disempowering moment in time that anyone lives is when you can't make up your mind about something, when you're conflicted or confused about something. That is so disempowering. But there's never a reason for that, because your inner being has already taken all of the data of all of your life, of all of your lives. Your inner being knows who you really are and knows what's active in your vibration, knows what you really want, knows who you really are, and is sending a signal about that that is indescribably powerful and is undeniable. And the only reason that anybody denies it is because they haven't practiced tuning themselves to what it is, so they don't know what it feels like. You want to teach your 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, anyone who comes to you, you want to teach through the clarity of your example what it feels like to be under the influence of source. And what it feels like is confidence and love. And what it looks like is kindness and ease and power and clarity. It doesn't look like hate, and it doesn't look like insecurity, and it doesn't sound like it either, you see. And so once you give them that stability because you've got it, once you demonstrate it to them, then they'll know what to do, you see. You can't follow them around and give them rules. You can't give them rules to guide their behavior. It's such a wonderful thing. Most physical beings want to take the world as it exists, and they aren't talking like we are about being vibrational beings who are turning thoughts to things. Most people are looking at the things that have already turned out. They think that's reality. The relationships are the manifestations. The car in the garage is the manifestation. The money in the bank is the manifestation. So they want to just take those kinds of manifestations and sort them into piles. And so they say, all right, there's the Democratic pile and the Republican pile, and there's the white pile and the black pile and the female pile and the male pile and the straight pile and the gay pile. There's all these piles. And then they want to judge the piles from their framework of, I'm in the right pile and therefore you must be in the wrong pile. And you can imagine how many piles there are. There's the teenager pile and their parents' pile. There's the employer pile and the employee pile. Lots of different people in lots of different piles with lots of different opinions about the same thing. We want to take all those piles and mix them all up. And then we want to sort them into two piles. Under the influence of source right now or not. And once you figure that out, then you realize there are all kinds of people that you relate to in all kinds of ways. They're in all kinds of different categories that others have put them in. But when you're under the influence, when you're really under the influence of who you are, then the cooperative components of the universe bring to you or to your aligned child those things that enhance their experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.